remind the class of the last competency that we'll consider that day. Anyone? Anyone? Anyone can just give that.
Competency 9,
Yes.
sir.
9?
Yes, sir.
No. 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 Check your notes very well.
The use of
If you
critical.
attended the class.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
That is the use of critical thinking. Number
Great.
10.
Thank you. Thank you. That is number 10. I added one. I said I needed to add one, which is critical thinking and reflective practice. Am I right? Yes. Yes. It's within it is within that context that I put critical thinking and reflective practice. And what does that connote? It connotes apply logic and reasoning in whatever you want to do. And as well, you also reflect on your personal biases. You are human as well. Everybody has his or our own biases. So you should also reflect on your biases and ensure that your bias does not influence whatever you are doing as a professional. You ensure that you put your bias or you control or safeguard your bias so that it will not interfere with your practice. That is the essence of that number 10, which is the use of critical thinking and reflective practice. So just ensure that you listen very well when we discuss like this. So please take note of some important points when I make them. They are very, very useful. They may be very, very useful for you. So this afternoon, we're moving on to rapport building. Rapport building. I briefly mentioned or touched that aspect last week, and but I promise that we'll go into details by today. Like I said that day, I made it clear that when we talk about rapport building, we in social work, we are referring to the process of establishing a trusting, respectful, and empathetic relationship between the social worker and the client. Meaning that we are referring to that process of establishing that particular useful relationship. And when you establish a useful relationship or respective relationship between two people, it means that that relationship is laying a very good foundation that will allow your partner, in this case, the service user, in this case, your client, to feel safe, to be understood, and to be valued. And when you value an individual, it means that you are giving respect to that individual. And this is very, very essential for communication between the two of you, because that will lead to effective communication in any way. And what is an effective communication? Of course, people do talk. Many people, they talk. They just talk, they say all sorts of things, but in actual sense, they don't communicate. So that is the difference between giving an information and communication. You may just pass an information and you may not communicate with an individual just for that individual to know, just for the information. You know, there's some classified information that they will just send to you, or special information they will say is just for your information, not for you to act, which means when you have that information, you are not to react. You are not to give any feedback. So that is not communication. So talking about effective communication, it means that as a social worker, you should have that skill that will ensure that you have good relationship with your client. In this case, that is not just ordinary relationship. Such a relationship should be a trusting relationship. It should be a respectful one, and it should be a relationship that has empathy. Looking at those three keywords: trust, respect, empathy. So, meaning that when we are discussing rapport, we are talking about some elements in that rapport building which are very, very important. And such elements like trust, respect, empathy, and all this, they shouldn't be found wanting in any relationship as a professional. So in this case, the key element of rapport building in social work that we're going to consider are: one, active listening; two, empathy; three, respect and no judgment; four, warmth and approachability; five, consistency and reliability; six, confidentiality and boundaries; seven, cultural sensitivity. And we then consider why is rapport building important in social work. That is the benefit of rapport building in social work. One after the other. Let's take active listening as an element in rapport building in this our noble profession. What does active listening imply? It implies that you are paying full attention to what the client says, both verbally and non-verbally. You know, in communication, we have verbal communication and we have non-verbal communication. I think you can distinguish between the two. The one I'm giving you now is verbal. You can hear me. What I say, you take note of them. This is verbal. You can hear me. But since I'm not using video, there's no way you can see my gestures. You cannot see my face. You can't see the way I'm demonstrating. But if it is one-on-one, face me, I face you communication, face-to-face communication. Because this one could be one-on-one at the same time with the use of this Zoom. It can be one-on-one. Communication, telephone communication between one person and the other is one-on-one, but that is not face-to-face. But it is possible for us to have a face-to-face communication if I'm using video in this respect. So if I use video, you see all my demonstration, you see my gesture. But when those on cue gestures, on cue communication that you see, they are non-verbal communication. You know, in some cultures, when you are with the elders and you are younger generation, you are with the elders. When another person, when he blinks eyes to you as a young person, in some culture, you understand the meaning of that blinking. When an elder coughs, you will understand the meaning of that cough. Even if he's not saying anything, but you understand. When an elderly person looks at you, if a mother looks at her younger daughter in a way, with a particular look, such a daughter, if she is well cultured, she will understand the meaning of that look in that context. So that one is non-verbal. So in rapport building, there must be an active listening. It's an important element that must be given attention. It means that you are paying attention to what your client is saying, whether verbally or non-verbally, which means 100% listening. You must have that skill of listening to your client, meaning that you must be an active listener, not active talker. As a professional, you don't dominate the talking. You allow your client to dominate that discussion, so that it is when you listen very well to your client, your client will feel safe. He or she will feel valued, and he or she will feel very, very secure. So your client will know that you are showing genuine interest without interrupting or judging. You don't pass judgment. You just listening. When you listen very well, to people, you get where they are going from listening. But if you are the type that is so active, if you are the type that is not that patient, it's going to be very difficult for you. But as a social worker, as a professional, you need to learn this skill, active listening. You listen more. As social workers, you don't say much words. You try to compress whatever you want to say. You say few words so that you don't just say anything. So it is important that you listen very well, you accumulate, ensure that you accumulate more. You must have enough shock absorber to enable you understand your client very well, your service users in this regard. Number two, empathy. Many people confuse empathy with sympathy. They are two different things. When you have empathy, you understand and you acknowledge the client's feelings and experiences. Empathy means you are putting yourself in the shoes of another person, meaning that you are sharing your client's feelings as well as interests as well as experiences. You share it. It shows that you understand and you acknowledge that experience as well as the feelings. Then when you have empathy, you show that in communication you care for the communication going on between the two of you, and you are also concerned appropriately. You are concerned appropriately in what is going on, meaning that empathy is an important element, very crucial, that you should show as a professional. Don't feel less concerned. Feel as if you are the one experiencing that trauma, in quotes. You are the one experiencing that violence being meted out to that survivor. So just feel that. Again, number three is respect and not judgment. What is respect? What is respect? Anybody? Anybody? What is respect? Maybe in one word or two sentences. What is respect?
Having regard for someone.
Yes, is having regard for someone. What is that regard? What does it mean when we say you have regard for someone? I agree that it's having regard for someone. What does it mean? In clear terms, what does it mean? What does it mean? When you have regard for
Like you
someone,
honor,
go ahead, sir.
Okay.
like you honor the person.
Good. That you honor the person. Fine.
We're
Meaning
giving
that
attention and concern.
you said
Giving attention or concern.
good. Yes, you are giving attention or concern. But succinctly, I want you to understand that when you give respect to somebody, it means that you value that person's dignity, regardless of his or her background, regardless of his class, regardless of the differences between the two of you. So that is the essence of respect. That is the essence of regard, meaning that you do not allow any kind of a discriminatory factor to stand between the two of you, but you still value that person as an individual. You value that person's dignity. You value that person's worth. It means that you are giving respect to that person. So it is an important element when you give respect, when the relationship you have with your service user is very respectful, it means that you value your client dignity regardless of his background or behavior. You take him or her as he is. You do not emphasize his or her weaknesses. You take him or her as he is, meaning that his dignity too is worth being given regard or respect. In this case as well, you avoid biases. You avoid biases based on culture, religion, gender, or socioeconomic status. You are a Yoruba man, your client is an Hausa person or is Ibibio. You do not allow that ethnicity, that coloration, or you do not allow any kind of biases to intervene in whatever you want to do. But you give respect to that, to his or her own culture, to his or her culture. When you give respect to her culture, meaning that you value her culture, you do not disparage his religion, you do not disparage his culture, you do not disparage his status. But what you do is you value that dignity in that person. Don't forget, one of the ways of ensuring that we have social equality in life is that of closing the gap, bridging the gap of inequality. Is that of bridging where we have differences. Is that of living together with having a peaceful coexistence and living together, coming together in different diversity and becoming one. You are having unity in diversity, meaning that what binds us together, the common denominator that connects everybody is that of humanity. So when you put in that, it means that you try to reduce inequality in the society. That is one of the essence of social work, because you try to remove that gap, the inequality gap. You remove it or you break it or you bridge it so that we tend to have what we call social equality. So that is when you give it, you can achieve that when you give respect to everybody. For instance, a person living with disability, you do not look at his disability and treat him as such. You follow the human being, the humanness in that particular person. That is respect and not judgment. But many people, they are so judgmental because of what? Because they have shallow knowledge of this professional ethics, or they do not even have that skill of rapport building between service provider and service user. It's like a producer and consumer. But in this case, we are providing our service and our service user, they are our client. We who have one issue or the other, or one challenge or the other, hoping to be redeemed or to be mitigated from our own end. Number 4, warmth and approachability. Using friendly, open body language and tone of voice. You know, some people, when you see them, when you meet them for the first time, you can describe the kind of person they are. One encounter with them can help you write 2, 3, 4 pages about them. Just one encounter. By their words, maybe by their body language. When you enter an office, you have come to see a social worker, And the way you find the social worker who's supposed to be a professional to the core, you find him frowning his face, you find him, the body language does not even welcome you. So when you see that, will you be able to express whatever you want to let him actually come into your head? Will you allow, you will not be free, you will not feel safe. You will look at him as if, okay, this person is not my Messiah at this point in time. This person cannot save me from this trauma. This person cannot be cannot provide, cannot give me the solution to my problem. So it is important that we are warm in our approach. We are also approachable. We must use friendly, open body language, and our tone of voice to not be that dictatorial, or it should not be such that it tends to portend a kind of violence, or tend to portend a kind of domination. It should not be a domineering voice that you want to dominate everything. No, as a professional, you should avoid this. You should look for a way of using friendly voice, using friendly language, avoid vile language, avoid bad language, and so on and so forth. And unsolicited language, or and all sorts of things that may impair a good communication between the two of you. You should as well create a welcoming and supportive environment. You should create an enabling environment that will give your client that assurance that he or she is in the right place, that he or she has come to a person who will lift him or her out of that particular trap where he or she is. Then number 5, consistency and reliability. Consistency and reliability. You should be a person that's you should be dependable. Let me put it that way. You should be dependable so that your client can follow you through on commitments. You must be consistent. All right. You give your client time to come and meet you in your office. Maybe you have given him 10 a.m. and your 10 a.m. before the time you change it again. You say, okay, hello sir, please don't come by 10 again. Please come by 11. Before 11 o'clock, you call him, please, can we make the appointment 3 o'clock? You are not consistent. So when next you fix an appointment with such a service user and you say 10 a.m., you will be expecting your change. You will be expecting that you will still change, you will alter that appointment. There's no way, because you're not consistent. If you have done it 2-3 times, or 1 or 2 times for him or her, next time you will not have that trust in you again. And little by little, the communication channel is being hampered in a way. So you must be consistent, you must be dependable, you must be able to build trust through ethical and professional behavior. Whatever you do, you must be reliable. Let your client rely much on you, meaning that you have to be honest. You have to observe all the professional ethics. The ethical behavior that is expected of you must demonstrate it. And if you as a professional, your reliability is very, very important. Your integrity is very, very important, and you must be consistent in whatever you are doing. You have given an appointment for 10 a.m. Let your 10 be 10. Don't change it. Even if you are going to change it, it should be circumstance that is beyond your control at that particular time. And it should not be always. It should be once in a it should be once in a blue moon. It should not be always. But if you are the type that you always give excuses for not making up with the appointment, you see, you are not going to be taken very, very serious. And of course, whatever you do consistently, is going to become an habit for you, and people will be noticing that. And of course, all of us can say one or two things about our colleagues, maybe in the office, or our colleagues when you are in school. You can say more about our neighbors. You know the neighbor that will be late to the meeting, that is always late to the meeting. Even in our religious gathering, you know those family that will come late to any function in the church or in the mosque. You know now, even within the neighborhood, you know those that will be late to the community meeting. Even in your family, if you call a meeting, you call a family meeting, you know those ones that will be prompt at the time. You know those ones that will come late. You know somebody that will come few minutes to the end of the meeting. You know them. Why? Because they have been consistently becoming late, or they have been somebody that is not keeping time. So they are people that you cannot rely on when you are talking about timeliness. So all these who do it unconsciously, we are not even aware that we are doing one harm or the other to our profession. But as a professional, you must be consistent and you must be reliable, very dependable. And how do you become reliable is when you are honest and when you maintain your integrity. Confidentiality and boundaries. Of course, confidentiality is an important aspect in social work practice. People should have confidence in you that if they have any privacy with you, if they share any information with you that not to be shared with the third party, that you can keep it. How confident are people? How confident will you be in this regard? And will people have that confidence in you? Will they repose that confidence in you? Already, that confidence is reposed in you, but by the time you break that confidence, it's very, very difficult for you to mend. So explaining the limit of confidentiality clearly. Confidentiality is very, very important, and you should know the boundary. Maintaining appropriate boundary while remaining supportive. You know, there should be limits to what you can tell the third party, what you can reveal without consent. There are certain ethical considerations in social work that we always talk about. We talk about informed consent. Before you make known any information shared with you as a result of what you do, as a result of your practice, there are procedures that you need to go through before you can do that. But such procedure must be observed very, very well. So that is why this particular aspect should be taken very, very serious. You don't just expose anything. I trust our women. I trust our mothers. I trust our sisters. When things are good between any two friends among the women folk, they can tell them, both of them, they can share any information. But a moment of any disagreement between the two of them, they will expose everything. Everything they have been hiding for long. They will just expose it to the public and everybody will hear. So you are doing this, you are doing this, you are doing that. It's because, though they are not social workers, we can't say they are social workers, but as social workers, you don't allow that to play. Even you don't share that with your spouse. If you are a male social worker and there is an information that is very, very confidential in your office or in the course of your practice, and you shouldn't share that with another person. Don't say because we have vowed not to hide anything from either of us, that you must inform your husband. That is not social work practice. You don't do that. You keep that secret and you maintain the confidentiality as it should be. Otherwise, you may be guilty of professional misconduct. So you should maintain appropriate boundaries while you still remain supportive to your clients. Number 7, cultural sensitivity. Just like regard, just like respect, you must be cultural sensitive. You must be culture sensitive. You must be culture sensitive. Respect the culture of others. Respect the culture of your clients. When you respect his or her culture, that communication will be smooth. That communication will be effective and it will be efficient. It means that you must be aware of and responsive to cultural, religious, and traditional values, especially in diverse settings like Nigeria. Nigeria as a whole, we have so many cultures in Nigeria. If you are a Christian and your place of work is in the north, where Muslim dominates, where the larger percentage of population are Muslims. In that respect, you should give regard to their beliefs, to their cultural beliefs, give regard to their traditional beliefs. You can't say because we don't do that in the south, you want to apply the same method you have used in the south, in the north. Definitely it's going to fail. It's going to fail. One of the northern culture is the fact that if you are bringing in any intervention into their communities, you cannot just engage their women without the consent of their husband. And you cannot just be talking to their women while the husbands are there. They will not say anything. They will not respond. You can't get the right answer, the right response from them. In fact, you will not even meet them because they are not allowed to see any stranger other than their husband, except their husband first meet with that stranger and discuss. Whatever you want to pass, you pass it through their husbands to them to give them that report. But if you feel, no, this is a bad culture, no, you don't say that. Every culture is good. You give respect to that culture. It doesn't matter. What you need to know is, what you need to do is for you to find time, understand that, understudy that culture, and just know how to handle it. And when you understudy, you know their do's and don'ts. Then you know how to manage and adapt to whatever their beliefs are. So that is about the element in rapport building. You can relate that to different examples, relevant examples in your own domain, and see how best you can situate it within that context and apply this to solving any social work issue. Why rapport building is important in social work? Why is it important? That is benefit of rapport building. 1, it encourages honest communication from clients. Honest communication. You get the right answer, the right responses from your clients. Communication is very, very important in this our work of social work. If the communication is effective, right intervention will come in. But if the communication is somehow hampered in a way, so there's no way we can get to our destination in meeting or in getting intervention for our clients in this regard. So it encourages honest communication, like you have in your material, enhanced communication. This building rapport allows for effective and open communication between individuals. And when this is established, there is a higher level of trust and understanding, leading to clear and meaningful exchanges of information. You get honest responses from your client when rapport is well established. Number 2, it reduces resistance and increases client cooperation. You see, we have talked about trust and trust in particular, but when you establish a good rapport, that resistance that may hitherto discourage effective communication will be removed. The barrier will have been removed, and you just have that smooth communication, and your client will definitely cooperate with you, because when he or she is sure of the fact that the relationship is trusted and you are giving due respect, definitely he or she will cooperate with you. You can read up that as well. And we have talked about trust, rapport building, foster trust. And when you have trust in somebody, you tend to cooperate with that person. Let's take an association, for instance, or union for that matter, or even if you belong to any cooperative society. Why is it called cooperative society? Why is it called cooperative? Because all members, they are they are functioning in that particular association or union as a result of their cooperative abilities, as a result of cooperative uh, qualities in all of them. Because they cooperate, they have trust in themselves to contribute together and give out loan from whatever, from their own contribution or from their savings. So because that trust is there, the cooperation will definitely fall in as expected. Again, we also talk about improve relationship, which I have explained and over explained. Conflict resolution. This contribute to effective conflict resolution by promoting open dialogue. You know, when your client is very safe, is understood, and is valued, he or she will be open, and he knows that he is being respected and he is also understood. Everything will go on well. If there is going to be any conflict, it will be easily resolved. It will be easily resolved. Apart from that, we also talk about improved productivity. You know, the end product of everything, whether communication or whether you are building rapport, whether you are trying to be honest, whether you are dependable or you are reliable or you have integrity or you are this, you are that, everything you are doing, it points to one thing. It leads to one goal. It leads to one end. All this we do, they are just means to an end. What's the end? The end is for us to have an outcome of that intervention. And that outcome that is being expected is for the well-being, long-term well-being of that individual. It is that long-term well-being which is our own end product, which people will say the outcome of all the efforts. What the outcome of all the efforts? The result of all the effort you are putting in is the productivity. When the rapport is very good, cooperation, everything is there, what you get to have is improved productivity. In this case, you must have worked efficiently, and you must have tried to overcome any challenges along your way. And at the end of the day, you achieve higher. Your chance of being successful in that intervention is very high. So you become very, very successful in your practice because you have established a very good rapport. Apart from this, we also have the benefit of building the foundation for effective assessment, intervention, and advocacy. Because when the rapport is established, you can assess very, very effectively. You can assess your client very well. You can as well give out right intervention at the appropriate time and in appropriate context or situation because the rapport is well established. Then advocacy will also be enhanced. You will have the opportunity of asking, of seeking assistance or help from other stakeholders apart from yourself or from your organization, you can ask, you can use that platform, you can be a mouthpiece of your client to another stakeholder who can be of better help or who can offer additional support to your clients. And that is the essence of establishing a good rapport with your client. Another benefit is that your clients feel empowered and respected. You see, when people see that you value them, when people see that you honor them, when people see that their dignity is worth, their dignity is worth giving recognition. What do? You know, that's why some people, when you call them, you know, some culture, when you are older, the younger one will call them brother. But if that younger one does not call that person who is older brother, you know, the brother will feel somehow. The brother will not want to do anything. But when a younger person say brother, 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 and start carrying bags for him, start carrying this for him, running errand for him, you know, such a person will feel valued. Such a person will look at that younger person as being respectful. You want to do as much as he can afford to ensure that that particular person is also happy because he or she because his dignity is recognized, his personality is valued. Though in the same way, when your client, your service user feel empowered and respected, it means that you have established a very good rapport, especially those who have experienced trauma or marginalization, survivors of trauma, survivors of violence. When you give them respect, when you give them their own words, when you respect, when you ensure that dignity is restored back to normal, such a person will feel very, very happy and is going to pave a very good way, a very good path to a successful journey. So in this regard, we have been able to touch on some benefits. You can think more and more on the benefit of rapport building, as well as the elements of rapport building that I've just explained. So you can read more on techniques for building rapport. It's more like is synonymous with the elements of rapport building. So can we just pause? If you have a comment, let me allow your comments or your questions. Let me allow your comment or questions before we move forward. Yes, any question? Any question, comments? Okay.
Hello.
Hello, I'm with you.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I want to appreciate you for all your explaining, and I want to ask, because when you are talking, you said that there is no culture that is bad. But there are some cultures, for example, some places take this FGM as a culture, and it's bad. So how could you differentiate now, saying that no culture is bad?
Okay, thank you. Because
So that
what
bad,
you have
and we are
just
trying to see how to break.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What you have raised is very pertinent, but what you have raised is just cultural practice, not the culture itself. You know, in the FGM case you have cited, is a harmful traditional cultural practice that you are shifting the mind of those practicing it. You are shifting their
Yes.
mind from that. It's not that the whole culture is very bad, but it's a practice within that culture that is not acceptable these days. You know, in some culture, they value child marriage or early marriage. Let me put it like that. But with time, it's not everything in that culture that is so bad. But we
Yes.
have elements, we have some practices that are harmful, that are not all that useful. You can encourage them to drop them. But when somebody with that culture comes to you for intervention, you don't start your communication by condemning that particular practice, but you look for a way of letting them understand why that particular practice is harmful. So you try to let them understand that there are alternative way of doing this without destroying their culture in any way. Look at this. Why I said no culture is bad. Every culture values the fact that they must procreate, isn't it? But the way
Yes.
everybody procreate is different. So if you try to create awareness for them to know the benefit of procreating in a better way and procreating in another good way or in another way, so the choice will now lie with that person to now make which one is more beneficial. You must have educated them, you must have enlightened them to know the good, the benefit, the merit and the merit of doing that. But that is a practice within a culture. Not everything in every culture is good, and not everything in every culture is bad. Let's take Nigeria as a country, as a nation. The way the advanced country, this issue of name calling, developed and developing nation or underdevelopment, is a matter of language. It's a matter of looking down on some people. It's a matter of giving a dog bad name just for you because you are a human being and the dog cannot talk. So if it doesn't matter everything we have in our culture, everything we have in our culture it doesn't matter that everything in our culture is bad, or what we do in Nigeria as a country, everything we do is not good, or everything we do does not bring any benefit to us. No, it's not. Like I said maybe in one of my lectures before now, that not everything we have is bad, but the only thing is we cannot take everything from outside, hook, line and sinker. It's not possible. So the same thing with the culture. Look at those cultural practices that are beneficial. You can encourage that. You educate them to know that this cultural practice is not good. This cultural practice is harmful. That's just the response I can give to that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I saw in the chat somebody asked that all I'm been talking about, most of it are not in the materials. Yes, I've added to that material. Those I'm giving you, they are additional to what we have in the material. So that is why I said you can add to what you have in the material, so that to make it to give you an in-depth knowledge of what we are discussing. That is why I move outside the material to give you additional information. So if I have the time, I can get them together and send it to your group so that you can join them together in your own way and harmonize. Yes. Any other? Okay. If there is no other comments or questions, we can move forward. Yes. What we have next with this. Can Friday mute it, mic, please? Friday, please mute your mic. Thank you. So we're going to confidentiality. I briefly mentioned confidentiality the other time. We want to quickly discuss that. Perhaps we can finish that one today so that next week we'll move to another important heading. So on confidentiality, going back to your material now, for that person that asked that he has not been hearing from the material. So I was just juggling between the material and my own personal notes from here. So, but here, going by your material, we have the confidentiality. We briefly discussed it the other time. This actually refers to the ethical and legal duty to protect sensitive information from unauthorized access, use, or disclosure. Just underline that. Protect sensitive information from unauthorized access. I talked about informed consent the other time. For anything you do with your client, you must inform his or her consent. So, but meaning that the client has given you the permission to take whatever you want to take from him or to use it the way you want to use it, depending on the purpose of that particular intervention or communication. Is it the act of keeping information private and ensuring that it is only accessible to those who have a legitimate need to know? For instance, you are a junior colleague in the office and you are obtaining information from your service user. It is imperative that you pass that information to your senior colleagues. You know that one is a legitimate means or legitimate access to that information, because you are still working on the intervention, you are still working on the ways or on the opportunities that may be opened to your service users. So what are the legal and ethical considerations in confidentiality? Don't forget, we talked about ethical consideration when we first started this class. Legal and ethical consideration play a significant role in ensuring confidentiality. When it comes to handling sensitive information, it is important to be aware of the following. Do you know that? I don't know whether you know that journalists, when they publish their stories, they will never reveal the source of their story. I don't know whether you are aware of that. Except the release of such or disclosure of such information is required by the court, by a very strong court order. That is when they disclose the source of their information. So in the same way, because in their profession they are not meant to disclose the source of their information. They don't disclose it to just anybody, but they have the source with them. They will never accept the court's orders that such information should be disclosed. That is why you see during the military era, some journalists then were also sentenced to different forms of sentences, while they were given a different form of sentences, like mostly accessory to the fact of the coup. Mostly they are always charged for that. Because of what? Because some may even have had, they knew the source of the information about the coup, but they will not reveal it. That is why they charge some of them for that. But when they get to the real court of law, and because of the legal consideration or ethical consideration of their profession, some of them are freed. Some of them will be freed because their legal, their ethics, their legal framework and ethics allow them to keep that information except it is required by valid court order. So in this case, we're looking at legal framework. Don't forget, when we started, I mentioned the Institute Act. How many of you have been able to go through that particular act since I mentioned it? It is important you. If you have not gone through, please get a copy or just Google it. You get it from the website. Go through it. There's no way you can escape questions from that act. There's no way. There's no way. It's an important legal framework that we use, and is an important legislation with regards to this institute. So you, as a professional, you need to familiarize yourself with the relevant laws and regulations that govern confidentiality in your field of work. You need to do that. You need to familiarize yourself with those regulations that govern confidentiality in your field of work. This may include data protection laws, privacy regulations, industry-specific guidelines, and so on and so. For example, in Nigeria, we have the National Information Technology Development Agency that is in charge of data protection and so on and so on to safeguard personal data. Any regulation that is related to your work in terms of confidentiality, you must familiarize yourself with it. Don't forget, ignorance is not accepted. It's not tenable in the court of law. Consent and authorization. I told you about informed consent. As a social worker, it is very, very important. Even as a researcher, anything, if you carry out any study, it is important that you obtain the consent of your respondent. You obtain their consent. That this, you should put it there as part of the instruction, that this particular questionnaire it will be used only for research purpose, or is for research purpose only. Any information here will not be disclosed or will be disclosed, something like that. But your respondent is required to sign consent form, because you're going to publish the findings you get from the questionnaire. You need to get an informed consent from your respondent. That is an aspect. That is when you are conducting a research or you are conducting a study, either short-term study or long-term study. It depends. Then again, if you are having a program, not even a program this time, if you are having an encounter with your client and you want to take photographs, you need to seek his or her consent, informed consent that must be signed, that this photograph I'm taking, perhaps you are successful in an intervention with your client. Before you can take his or her photograph, you need to obtain his or her consent, so that in that consent form, you must have stated it there that this information you share the information you get from this interaction will be shared publicly in the newspaper or through the social media and so on and so forth. But how many of us do that? Many people, when they meet with a victim of any disaster, for instance, immediately you just take picture and post it in the social media. It's unethical, quite unethical and unprofessional. A professional will not do that. How many times have you seen medical doctors treating or trying to treat or to attend to patients at that point, maybe at the point of crisis or emergency, and they will start picture and will be sharing that pictures that this is what I've done. No, it's never done. So as a professional, you don't join those people that when they get to accident scene, what they do is to take photograph and start sharing it. Instead for them to join hands in rescuing the accident victim, they will just be sharing the horror of that accident scene. That is too bad. So you need to obtain appropriate consent or authorization from individual before collecting, using, or disclosing their personal information. Ensure that consent is voluntary. Ensure that consent is voluntary, informed, specific to the purpose for which the information is being used. Like if you have a program, like I said, you want to take group photographs, obtain the consent of every participant that they must sign at the beginning of that program. So when they sign, everybody will have known that this picture may be seen in US. This picture is made public in Europe, and so on and so forth. That is why I mentioned the other time. Mr. Friday, and this is Sunday, please. We are not on Friday. Please mute your mic. So, again, we talk about data security. Take necessary measures to protect the confidentiality and integrity of data. The data you have, you must secure it. You don't just put information you get from your client anyhow on your table in the office so that everybody will just have access to it. If I'm passing by your table or in your office, or I'm a visitor in your office and I sit before you, I can easily read all the information you have gotten from a client that just left before I enter your office. No, which means you are poor at securing data. This includes implementing secure storage systems, encryption, password protection, access controls, regular data backups. Be aware of any requirement regarding data security and apply best practices accordingly. I know all of you, most of you on this call, you have password to your phone, isn't it? Most of you will have password. Why did you put password? It's just for you to protect the information that you have in the phone, so that your children will not just take your phone and delete all the important, all the useful information that you have in the phone, or anybody will not just have access to that information you have kept in your phone, because you feel the data is well secured in your phone. You cannot just take some people's phone anyhow. No. You don't handle it anyhow, because they are protected. They are data protected. So that is what you should do as a social worker too. Not everybody should have access to your phone. Don't say, no, I can't hide anything from my spouse, so he or she must know everything that is going on. No, you are doing damage to the profession. When you have a confidential discussion, interaction with your clients, and somebody, a third party, has access to that information, definitely you may not have you may not have good outcome from that intervention. Then data retention and disposal. When you secure data, to what extent do you retain the data, and how best do you dispose it? For how many months, how many years, how long, how short do you dispose any data that you have, depending on the consent of your client that you have already secured before the intervention started. And of course, you have to adhere to any legal or regulatory requirements regarding data retention and disposal. Depending on that, there are some development partners. When you have partnership with them, they give their guidelines, they give their requirement on sharing information from whatever you do together. They may say, after the expiration of that project, you are not to share your reports, whatever information, whatever message that you have during the course, or while the project was on, or when you are still partners, you can't share the information until after 6 months, after the end of the project, or after 1 year or 2 years. You just have to abide by it, because they have a reason for doing that. So you need to abide by the requirements being given at their end, because it's part of the agreement that you have signed. Confidentiality agreement, I've just mentioned agreement now. If you have entered into any agreement on confidentiality, you must actually observe those agreements and maintain the agreement as signed. So it's very, very important as a professional. Professional codes of conduct. We have our own code of conduct. You must be aware of any professional code of conduct or ethical guidelines that apply to your field of work. You must be aware of it, like we said initially, as part of the core competencies that you should have. The code of conduct of the profession, you must understand it very, very well. Does it allow you to share information the way you feel you should share it? So you should tread the path of the code of conduct that has been established by our profession. And these schools often emphasize the importance of confidentiality, integrity, and respect for privacy. Don't forget, privacy is very, very important in this regard. Can you just, if you have had opportunity of intervening in any program, maybe for the HIV positive people or individuals, do you share that information within the community or within the public or in the neighborhood or in your place of work? Do you just share it like that? No, you must respect the privacy. You must respect the confidentiality that is involved in that, so that you not cause more harm into the community and cause more harm and even trauma to the victims. Then breach response. You should establish a plan for handling or responding to any breaches. If there is any grievances, if there is any breach in agreement, how do you respond to it? So you must find a plan. You must establish a plan for handling or responding to breaches of confidentiality. This include promptly addressing breaches, notifying affected parties, and taking appropriate remedial actions. If you have one way or the other breached the agreement of that confidentiality, there should be a way for you to prefer remedy for that accent. So, and how do you notify the parties that are affected? It is important that you have a plan for this, and this is part of the steps that should be taken that should be considered in confidentiality. What are the importance of confidentiality? The importance of confidentiality, as you have been saying it, we have trust and respect. That without trust, when I know that my privacy is well kept by you, so it means that I will give you trust. That trust will be there, respect will be there, because I know you don't divulge the information I share with you. I will definitely trust you and respect. Then privacy protection. This safeguard the privacies of individuals, because you have been able to protect that individual from further harm from the society. Don't forget that the overall objective of your intervention, of your social work practice, is to ensure the well-being of an individual, long-term well-being of that individual. Of long-term well-being of that individual. You want that particular individual to be resilient, so that at long run, you'll be able to manage, adapt with any life challenges, and overcome the challenges and live a normal life and restore back his or her dignity. Professionalism and ethics as well.
Like, this is so crazy.
Professionalism and ethics. Professionalism and ethics. Maintaining confidentiality demonstrates professionalism. It means that when you do that, when you maintain confidentiality, people will see you as being professional, not just anybody. We talk about quackery and anybody practicing social work without being professional. They are just professional. They are not professionals, but they call themselves professional, but they are not professional, because all sorts of things they do. Because confidentiality is not in their dictionary. Ethical conduct, adherence to professional standards, and so on and so forth, is so that you take privacy seriously and you are committed to upholding the rights and well-being of that individuals. That is the meaning, because that individual will have seen you that thoroughly or truly you are a professional. Safety and security. The person will feel safe and they will feel secure as well. It helps protect individuals from potential harm, including identity thefts, fraud, discrimination, and other negative consequences that may arise from the unauthorized use or disclosure of personal information. If an information that is meant for social worker gets to the hand of another professional who is not a social worker, perhaps, let's say, to an engineer, perhaps to a journalist. What do you think the journalist will do with that information? The journalist will just blow the information. The next morning, you see it as the headline of the newspaper. Because he doesn't know, he doesn't realize, or he is not aware of the importance of confidentiality, or is not in the position to understand the essence of confidentiality in your own profession. So compliance with laws and regulation. This one is also important because it means that you comply with the laws that are related to what? To confidentiality. You comply. You know, when you comply with law, which means you are law-abiding citizen and you are law-abiding professional in the noble profession. The regulations, you are following it as it is required, and data protection law, privacy regulation, and the specific guideline that we have within the profession as well, you are following it. And when you do that, we say you are obedient servant and law-abiding professional within the scheme of social work practice. It's not only important to avoid legal consequences, but also to ensure that you should respect the rights and privacies of individuals. Don't forget, if you breach these laws, you know, if you breach this law, you may be sued in the law court. You may be sued in the law court, which means you are liable. You are liable to go to the court, or you are liable to litigation if you breach any of this. And for those who know their rights, you are liable. Like I said, if you look at our act, the Charter Act of the Institute, you will see areas where any member violates any section of the law or of the act, such a person is liable to litigation, is liable to be fined, is liable to be sanctioned, is liable to be taken to the court of law. So meaning that with the act, we as members of the institute, or you as a professional, can be sued, and the institute can also sue, can also be sued as well. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say. The fact that there is a law guiding our practice. So any misconduct is liable to litigation in the court of law. So whatever interpretation, whatever understanding that you have about the practice, the law court will now interpret what is in our law. The law court will base their findings or their judgments on what? On what the law says. Simple and clear. Then reputation and trustworthiness. Organizations and individuals who prioritize confidentiality gain a reputation for being trustworthy and reliable. Don't forget, we talked about reliability the other time, and being dependable as well, being honest, being dependable as well. We talked about it the other time. This enhances their credibility and foster positive relationship with stakeholder partners and the community. You must have experienced in your life, in your life movement as well, organization where when you discuss anything with them, maybe the information will filter out from such organization. Even it could even be within your own organization, different departments. You must have noticed some department that when an information gets to them, it spreads so easily. Management issues that are not supposed to be discussed with every member of staff. But after the management meeting, before you even convey that to the general public, the information is already in the purview of ordinary person in the organization. You will see that you will now suspect some members of that management team who must have leaked that information. And what happens? Such a person will not be respected again. Such a person is not going to be trustworthy again. You know, that trust will leave. That trust will not be part of the thing you will associate such a person with any longer, because that person that has leaked that information will not be trusted. His reputation will come down. Will just come down like that. Just come down like that, from high to the low. So that is why it is important that you take this very, very serious. Effective service delivery. We talk about quality service delivery. When you have the right competencies, you can deliver your service effectively. So when such is actually maintained, confidentiality is maintained as it should be maintained, it enhances effective service delivery. It enhances effective service delivery by creating an environment where individuals will feel safe and comfortable sharing sensitive information. Legal and ethical obligation as well, you must have fulfilled that as well, where confidentiality is part of what you do. Confidentiality is not only a professional responsibility, but also a legal and ethical obligation. Upholding confidentiality helps you comply with legal frameworks, maintaining ethical standards, and avoid potential legal and ethical challenges. So these are importance and the imperative of confidentiality.
As fellowship. Na jago bang government sih nam yang tinggi gua masuk fellowship ni.
Sunday man, I'm the husband.
Kenal.
You know, I didn't know. There's a question to become an husband. I'm on the what?
Aneti, please. Aneti, please. Aneti Asuko, can you mute your mic, please? Just allow us to finish in few minutes. Asuko.
So I just said some word of prayer.
You can mute her, sir. You can just click and mute her.
So, just a minute, please. Just a minute. So sorry. We'll continue now. So the other, which is the final lap of what we are considering today on the confidentiality is is the confidentiality best practices. Confidentiality best practices, which I think we can quickly talk about. And this has to do with access control, the best practices that we have in confidentiality. As social workers, it is crucial to protect confidential information by limiting access to authorized personnel only. That is an access control. There must be control to the access. When you give people access to the information that you have, that you take as being confidential, it's not unlimited access. Such an access must be controlled in a way. Then encryption. When you look at your WhatsApp, you will see that it is written that the information here is one-on-one encrypted. What does that mean? When communicating sensitive information electrically, it is important to use encryption to secure the data, meaning that the information between the two of you, the exchange of that message is just between the two of you. No third party is involved, can read the message between the two of you. You check your WhatsApp, when you open it, you see that the information on this platform is encrypted. That's the essence of encryption. So when you have a confidential message or information from your client, you should also encrypt it in a way that is just between the two of you. The third party unauthorized access will not be allowed. So we have encrypted messaging apps or email services that can be used to protect the confidentiality of the information being transmitted. Look at the examples, read the examples, or you can also give your own example. It's not important that you take this example. It is for you to learn very well, to understand this description. What you do is cite your own example, and when you use your own example, you will not forget. But don't try to use the example you have in the material. Look at the environment or look at your own context and bring in a similar example. Secure storage. Don't forget, the storage of the information that you are keeping must be secured, so that tomorrow, when such information or data is needed, or when that data are required for further processing, you cannot get them as a result of poor storage. So your storage must be well secure. Training and awareness. You should ensure that you receive training on how to save, or how to secure information, how to keep data, and how to manipulate or interpret data. This is very, very important. And you know, these days, this is the age of AI, artificial intelligence. This is the age of computer. As a social worker, you must be computer literate. You must know how to handle computer, how to use computer. Many of you have high-tech phone with you, but many don't know the usage other than to call, to receive message, and to call and to send WhatsApp. And what you even send in WhatsApp is what you find in some people just use their phone for TikTok, use it for some other thing. Whereas your phone has beneficial functions more than that social one that you are using it for. Many functions are in your phone. You were using calculator, scientific calculator is already in your phone. Everything is inbuilt in your phone. Everything is inbuilt in your phone that you can make use of. You should try to learn, have a continuous, engage yourself in a continual learning process, so that you continue to learn every day, especially in this age of information technology. Ensure that you know how to keep information, how to save information, especially sensitive information. That awareness must be there, and that training, you should get trained. You should have that skill as a professional social worker. It is also important, the best practice is that confidentiality agreement that we mentioned the other time is very, very important. You need to sign agreement with your client for the confidentiality that is required of your office. And how best can you secure communication as well? Social workers will use secure communication channels. How best do you use a secure communication channel? That is what I mean. So you ensure that you use secure communication channel when discussing sensitive matters or sharing confidential information. If there is an interaction between me and you, if that interaction is coming and we are discussing on phone, are you sure that channel we are using, third party has not actually hijacked that discussion? Are you sure the third party has no access to that conversation? If that one cannot be ensured, it means that that communication is not secure. It's not secured. If it is noticed that third party has access to it. So you encourage the use of encrypted email services or secure messaging app with password protection. Some people, when they make calls, their spouse or other third party will clearly will definitely the third party has access to whatever they discuss, and this breaches the agreement of confidentiality, and this is not in tandem with ethical with legal or ethical consideration or ethical framework that we have in the profession. Example, social workers will use a secure email service with encryption capabilities when sending beneficiary lists or confidential report to their supervisors or partner organizations. It will avoid discussing sensitive matters over unsecured phone lines or public Wi-Fi network. You know, people like free things. They like to enjoy free, anything free, they will want it. Anything with bonuses, they will want it. Anything that will bring double or triple benefit or reward, they will want to venture into it. That is why many people find themselves in that challenge of is it CBES or what do they call it? Because where they don't reap, or where they don't how do they say it? They want to reap where they didn't sow. So you can see that when they say something is free, somebody must have paid, somebody that must have made a sacrifice for it to be free. Somebody somewhere must have paid for it. Even in free turn, when you go there, despite the fact that it is free turn, everything is not free. Nothing is free, even in free turn. So when you see free Wi-Fi in public places, you want to join them. You want to join the network because it is free. Even when you are in hotels, you are in the airport and any other train stations and so on, you see free Wi-Fi. When you use free Wi-Fi, you should know that that free Wi-Fi is not secure. In fact, your computer will tell you, or even your phone will tell you that this network is not secure. Do you still want to go ahead? Do you still want to connect with it? It will ask you. And when you say yes, you should remember that all the information you have, all the data you have in your phone or in your device, they are not secure any longer. From that free Wi-Fi, the third party can just get access to all the information you have and store his or her own device and continue to use it against you. That is what these people, this fraudster, the opportunity they use, this hacker, hackers, this is what they do. If not, how do they get your information about your bank details and so on and so forth? So in essence, what I'm saying is that you should ensure that any communication you are using is very, very secure. I want to believe we've been able to touch a lot of ground this afternoon. We may have to adjourn at this point in time and move on next week to advocacy. From advocacy, we'll go to emotional resilience before we go to the final lap of the course, which is quality service delivery. If it is, if we have the time, we will complete by next week. We may conclude by next week if time is friendly with us next week. So I want to thank you for your attention. If you have questions, you have contributions, advice, comments, observations, and so on, you have the floor. Yes, just raise your electronic hand so that I know you want to make comments. Yes. Question? Comment? Observation? Contributions? And so on. iPhone 1, iPhone 2, your name is not well written. Yeah, somebody has raised, sorry, somebody has raised his hand. Who is the person? So, Annie, please, Anne, unmute and speak. Please unmute and speak. Oyemachi, unmute and speak. I can see your hand, but you are not speaking. Okay?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I want to ask, in the area of this confidentiality, there's a case some time ago. I was talking to a couple, and the man was saying some things against the wife, what he was going to do to the woman. Do you understand? And he was telling me that he just telling me I should keep it to myself. But as a social worker, and you must save life. So what I did was, when I indulged a higher person, a professor in social work, who is my lecturer, and I explained to him. He said no, which is right, because I told him what I want to do, that I'm not going to keep it, since he said I should keep it to myself, that peradventure tomorrow he kills the woman, and police comes into it and they begin to interrogate him. He could say, yes, I told somebody, a social worker. So what I quickly did, I told the professor about it, and the professor said, no, you are not going to keep quiet. So you're going to make it known that you will go back to him and tell him what you have just said. I'm going to say it out. So I just want to ask you if I took a right decision about that.
Yes, you have taken a right decision about it, because that one is going to constitute greater harm if you keep the information to yourself, because that person is about committing crime, and that one is not making life easier. It's making it much more difficult for that for the other party. So in such a situation, one does not keep quiet. It's like hearing about crime in our environment, or somebody just told us that they are going to do this, and one will just keep quiet. No, you don't just keep quiet. You have to say something, because it's going to constitute a kind of harm to that person and to the society at large. The case is like a case. It's like a case maybe of a woman who took her sister.
Yes, sir.
Who took her sister with her, living with her, and with time, the husband impregnated the lady.
Yes, sir.
And so, and what happens? What advice do you give when you hear about that, and that thing get to you? Do you just keep quiet? Do you just keep it to yourself? And
No.
maybe the woman, the sister is threatening that he would poison, the sister, or will go and abort the pregnancy, further harm the lady. So will you keep that information to yourself? No, you will not do. You need to act. That is why we talk about critical thinking and reflective practice. You look at the situation. You apply what we call system thinking into that, so that you assess holistically the whole situation, compare the context, and see the situation and say, can this one bring further harm or remove that harm we are talking about. So if the sister has gone ahead to help her own sister
Carry out abortion.
carry out the abortion, what will happen to that lady in future? If eventually the lady, maybe in the process, the lady died, if the lady dies, what happens? Is her future secure in that regard? If even if she doesn't, that doesn't lead to death, and in future is very difficult, infertility issue comes in. So which means going to a further harm into the society. It's important that you don't just keep quiet. You have taken the right step, my sister. Thank you.
Sir, please, I want to share another experience I encountered. When I was doing one of my practicum, I went to Air Force Hospital to do one of the practicums. And one of the top Air Force medical doctor, came to me. In fact, we were three, to ask us. And he related a situation that a man that he knows very well, and he knows a lady he was about getting married to. Both of them are his family. In fact, he is more close to the lady. It was the lady that brought the man to him. So because he's a dental doctor in Air Force, so yes. So the man now came to carry out a checkup. And he was able to explain to me that as a medical dentist, that when he sees your oral hygiene, you understand me, that he'll be able to tell if you have HIV, you're HIV positive or not. So the man came, I think, to do a dental checkup. So he quickly took one of his samples and went for a HIV test. And it happened that the man is HIV positive. And his stage was about blowing to AIDS. He knew, he kept it away from the woman. And this lady is close to him. He said, in fact, she's even related to him. So he was not asking us, in this situation, what will he do to save the life of that woman? So I now told him, I said, as a social worker, what you would do is to call that lady. You don't inform her first, the situation on ground, but I don't know how you're going to speak to her to carry out a check, HIV check on her. Then from there, you follow it up. Because as a medical doctor, he told me, confidentiality, like we're talking in social work now, must be kept. So I now said, sir, I told him, I said, doctor, in this case, you're going to save a life. That life you're going to save is more important than like this critical thinking, sir, you're talking about. The life is more important. So let the lady know her status. You could, I don't know how you're going to present it to her, but make her carry out a test. But he said, this man, after the result came out that was positive, he began to interrogate the man, interview him to ask him. And it happened that the guy knew over the years that he has it. And he asked him, have you revealed it to the woman? He said, no, she must not know.
Yes, go ahead.
I said, yes. He said, the client told him, that's the patient told the doctor that the lady must not know. But I told the medical doctor, I said, sir, you must not know, you won't stop at that. Try and let the lady carry out a checkup. You know, then you will know her status. And from there, you carry out your decision, what you're going to do. I think it was, that was how I handled that case.
Wow. You see, yes, it's a good thing, because in any sustainable intervention, we should not be thinking of today. We should look at how tomorrow will not be compromised, how the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs will not be compromised. That is important. So if you are in sustainable thinking or in any sustainable development efforts or practice, it is important that you balance short-term and long-term outcomes. And much importantly, long-term outcomes are very, very crucial because we must think of tomorrow. We must think of those that will inherit us, those that will carry on the life after we are no more there. So what effort are we putting in place to safeguard that future? That is very important. And you have addressed the issue very well. So that holistically, that particular issue must be treated holistically, not just looking at me getting married without knowing their status. Because if tomorrow they get married and the problems just ensue, so the way for them to handle that particular problem would be costlier, and it will not be so palatable in future if they get to know of their status after they have gotten married. It may be devastating. It may be devastating. So it's better for them to know at this point before they even get into it. It has broken so many homes, not only on HIV, even not only on HIV status, even this simple
anemia.
not even sickle cell anemia, this blood type, genotype, even genotype.
Okay, genotype.
Genotype compatibility and all this. So it's important for you to know it now than delaying it. It's like delaying your problem, or you are carry forward what the problem you are to solve now. Perhaps the solution is available now. It may not be available tomorrow. So thank you so much for that insight. Akon.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sorry, Akon, for holding you for a long time. You can speak now.
It's okay, sir. It's okay, sir. I don't want to maybe a follow-up to this issue. Instead of just telling the lady go for a check, why not the normal ask the couple, since the doctor knew the two of them, is close to the two of them, knows the two of them are getting married, he could just ask the two of them to go for the general check. Then from there, both of them will now know what's up. That's just my own take. Instead of just asking the lady go, she may suspect, why is my doctor asking me to go for this or that? You just make it like this. There's nothing wrong. Okay, just go for general.
The man specifically told the doctor. So if the doctor is trying to play professional, if the doctor calls the lady and I will advise both of them to go for medical checkup, the guy will say he has breached the confidentiality. You understand?
Okay.
Yes, that was exactly what happened, because the doctor told me specifically. The man said, all right.
Okay.
All right. Another dimension is the fact that the social workers, group of social workers, if they have social work department in the hospital, they both can be referred to the social work department, so that from another professional and experts can also engage them. From there, they will know that the thing is not from the doctor, and from that end, they can, during the counseling, you can actually ask them to go through some stages and some other procedures. With that, they will be able to disclose, we will be able to get to know what is actually hidden. So thank you.
Sir, I want to ask this confidentiality issue. I think if the matter does not have to, there's no threat to life, can it be revealed in anonymity? Maybe, for instance, maybe somebody comes to you and talks about maybe he had maybe stolen some items or something from somebody, and then he's now remorseful and wants to return those things. do you have to mention to the owner of the things the person stole the particular name of the person, or could the social worker just, okay, go to the person, somebody took, keep the person aside? Because some persons may decide to, oh, all this while you didn't know who stole the thing, and then somebody has now come, okay, I was the one who took this thing, and then you now decide to take up a case with the person. Is it possible that the social worker could just maybe return the thing without mentioning who the culprit or who stole the things, something like that, in such situation when it doesn't have to do threat to?
We just need to weigh the options. I think it's better if you can maintain anonymity. It is better because what is lost has been found, and there's no need of giving names again to the person who has stolen it. And remember that from there, the work of the social worker will now start to ensure that you engage the person that has done that, that has exhibited that bad behavior, how best you can change the person for better. So let him see why he shouldn't do it, because since he's not even feeling comfortable, even mentioning it to the entire public. So from there, you can take it up, and I know that will positively change that person rather than exposing that this is the person that has done this, that has done that. Thank you.
Okay, then this one outside the course now. I just want to find out the nature of the examination. This examination, what's the nature? Is it multiple choice? Is it essay? What's the nature of the examination?
Anyway, like last year, it was multiple choice, but the coordinator will actually give a right answer this year. But I don't think that there has been any change. If there's going to be any change, the coordinator will inform us appropriately at the appropriate time. So, but last year, it was a multiple choice. So that is why every bit of information in the material and what I say,
one has to read between the lines.
And the material and what I say, and if you attend the class, no problem. You're going to get it, and it's not going to be a big deal. But just ensure that you understand. When you understand, all these are very, very easy. Don't forget, we are mature in the class.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Problem.
God bless you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
We're grateful.
Yes,
You as
grateful,
well.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, hope to
Thank
see
you. I
you
think
next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir,
So, next week, may God
for
spare our
imparting
lives.
the knowledge.
Amen. Amen. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
I
God
greet
bless
you,
you.
sir. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
More anointing. More
Everybody
anointing.
have a wonderful week ahead.
And
Okay,
you too,
thank
my
you.
dear.
Happy
Thank you.
Sunday.
You too.
Thank
Happy
you.
Sunday to our mentor.
Yes, so happy Sunday, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.